So we're back on schedule. Up next, we have Trip Longworth speaking on the Wall of Awful, Tactics of Summiting Your Most Mountainous Molehills. Talk's going to be pretty interesting, learning about those emotional barriers and the neuroscience behind why we can't get things done.
This is something that I personally struggle with like aggressively all the time, so I'm excited to see this one.
Kick it off over.
Oh, hello. Welcome to the Wall of Awful, Tactics for Summoning Your Most Mountainous Molehills. I am Trip Longworth. I use they, them, or he, him pronouns, and I'm a developer advocate at Garden.io. So if you are interested in eliminating drift between your inner loop dev environment all the way through to production, we're a cool tool to check out. I am a co-organizer of the DevOps Days PDX conference, a proud cat dad, and I love karaoke. So, what is the Wall of Awful? The Wall of Awful is simply a metaphor for the emotional barriers that get in between us and accomplishing the tasks that we set for ourselves. This metaphor was invented by Brendan Mahan of ADHD Essentials. But Trip, I don't have ADHD. Well, that's okay, Nico. The things that we're going to go over in this presentation are going to be applicable whether you're neurospicy or not. It's just that people that have ADHD tend to need these steps more because we're impacted by it more. Oh, that's great. Thanks. You're welcome. So every time we fail, we experience negative emotion. Like nobody wants to fail, right? And our brains try to protect us, and sometimes they get a little too active, and it starts to get in the way of us accomplishing simple adulting tasks like mowing the lawn or washing our dishes or opening our mail. So let's say that you decide that you are going to wash all the dishes because this is going to be the new you. You're going to be a responsible dishwashing person. And so evening comes and you're going to wash the dishes, but man, you're tired. So it's been a long day. Maybe you're going to go to bed and then you're like, oh man, I failed at the dishes, but like there's tomorrow, right? So you get a little negative brick of failing, but also maybe not just one brick. Maybe you also are a little bit disappointed in yourself and you're kind of ashamed, like, am I really that tired? Yeah, I'm that tired, but But anyway, brand new day, next day comes, you're going to wash the dishes and then, something else happens. And then you fail again because you had to take your cat to the vet. And like, that's understandable. But then the third day comes, and then the fourth. And the dishes, they just keep piling up until you can no longer remember why you wanted to wash dishes in the first place, because they are just a terrible burden. That why did people invent plates? So how do we get past this wall of awful and to our goal? Let's take a little detour through Neuroscience Alley. There's a great phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together. So neurons are basically the internet mesh of our brains connecting various parts which serve different purposes. You can think of the Pavlovian response. So scientist named Pavlov had dogs. Every time he fed them, he rang a bell, and eventually just the sound of the bell caused the dogs to begin to start salivating because those neurons fired together and wired together. And so these associations just happen. Whether the dog knows there's no food coming or not, the drool would happen because the body understood. So one of those great servers in our brains is the amygdala, and that is the lizard brain, if you will. Its main goal is to make sure you don't die. It's a great thing to have built into your human system, right? Not dying. Great concept. And in order to do that, it constantly scans all the input coming in from your environment for threats. And if it senses a threat, it will dump adrenaline and cortisol through your brain, through your body, so you can have a response that will help you to fight, flight, or freeze. And that is when any core need is threatened. So we often think of the fight or flight response as being something that happens only when your life is in danger. But a lone human out in the wilderness has a much lower rate of survival than a group of humans working together to overcome nature, right? So belonging is a core need, as are several other things, predictability and equality. Like these are built into our DNA. There's capuchin monkeys. A study was done in 2003 where they trained capuchin monkeys to do a job. I'm a monkey? Yeah, cool. Thank you for being my demonstration partner here. So they trained these capuchin monkeys. They gave them a job. They said, if you give us a pebble, we will pay you a slice of cucumber. That seems simple enough. Yeah, it is, right? I love cucumbers. Yeah, cucumbers are pretty dope. So this is a great job that they train the monkeys how to do. And then they start doing the science, right? So they put the two monkeys, me and Nico here, into clear cages, plexiglass between us so we can see each other. Hi, Nico. Hi, Trip. And little holes in the front so that we can put our paws through to give a stone and get a snack. And so we're just doing our jobs, being coworkers. This is great, right? Yeah, pretty good. And then they start giving one monkey, Nico, grapes. Grapes! I love grapes. Yeah, grapes are like way, way better than cucumbers, like far and above. And so the second monkey, seeing the first one's getting paid for grapes, is like, oh, awesome. And he hands over a pebble, and the researcher gives him a slice of cucumber. And the monkey's amygdala does exactly what it's supposed to do. This monkey loses their mind. He like takes the cucumber out of his mouth, sticks his hand through throws the cucumber at the researcher, pounds on the table, rattles the cage. This monkey is not okay with this because monkeys demand equal pay, and so should we. Thank you for being my partner here, Nico. You're welcome. And so our brain is always looking for things that are threatening to us, and it is scanning, and it will notice patterns, and maybe your brain has experienced something that makes it think, you know how sometimes people say, the smell of peppermint reminds me of my grandmother? Your brain associates all sorts of stuff, the bell with the food, right? And so maybe your brain got trained to search for something and has a really low threshold for triggering that sympathetic nervous response. It's not you, it's your environment. You experienced it. Your brain was like, I'm going to protect you from this in the future because this is important stuff. And so you got an overactive alerting system. Maybe it worked when you were, running a server in your closet, but now you're in the cloud, and the same things don't work the same way anymore. So another part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex in the front of your brain, is responsible for logic and reasoning and plans. It can often dampen the sympathetic nervous response. So your amygdala goes, bear! And your prefrontal cortex goes, oh, no, that's Smokey the bear. That is a statue. He's okay for now. And so your amygdala is like, okay, cool, not going to die. We're all right. Let's keep going. It is also the part of your brain. Sometimes it can do this. Sometimes you get an amygdala hijack, and that is where it will not shut up. Your amygdala is saying, all of this is bad. Get out of here. Run, fight, punch something. We gotta stop this. And if your prefrontal cortex can't shut that down, that is an amygdala hijack. It blocks the prefrontal cortex from doing things. So the prefrontal cortex helps you think of your future plans, such as, I would like to get promoted one day. And so when your amygdala says throw a cucumber at your boss, the prefrontal cortex can't say, no, that gets in the way of our plans. Okay? And this is also the prefrontal cortex and the default node network, which is part of the prefrontal cortex is part of that. That is your personality. That is when you're thinking about yourself and how you like to do things. It is not your amygdala. So when you are having a freak out, I need you to understand it's not you. This is conditioning. And we can get past it. That's the great news. So you are not the monster that you turn into when you are threatened. So back to business. How do we get past this wall of awful and to our goal? So we're going to first talk about the three things we usually do, which map to that fight, flight, or freeze response. And let's just get into it. So the first is the freeze response. And that is where you decide that you are going to stare the wall into oblivion. You decide that you are going to logic how to open your mail so that you can find out which one of those has the electric bill so you can pay it. It is a simple process. You tell yourself, I have my letter opener. I have this stack of papers. Who knows what's in them? Maybe there's a parking ticket. Maybe there's bad news. Oh man, turns out looking at stressful things stresses you out. You smell peppermint, you think of grandma, you see the mail, you think of all the bad things that have ever come through the mailbox. And so instead of thinking logically, you are getting increasingly panicked. Your body is not getting into a space where it's going to be able to logically tackle things. Hey, Trip, this wall's stressing me out. Can we look at something nicer? Sure thing. Ah. Okay, second thing, the flight mode. You may know this as procrastination. The great news about procrastination is your bathroom is never going to be more spotless than when you are avoiding doing a task that is behind a wall of awful. You're going to probably invent like 3 things and get a couple of patents, but you are not going to do the thing that you set out to do. So now, the third mode is smash mode. This is your fight mode, and technically it'll work, but you'll see why we don't want to do this one. The smash mode is where you like channel your inner drill instructor or your 7th grade football coach, and you're like, get off your lazy bum and do the thing. What's your major malfunction? And then like your roommate comes in and says, hey, Trip, did you pay the electricity bill? And you're like, I'm on it, because you're yelling at yourself. You're yelling at everyone because you are going to get stuff done. And then you do the thing, you smash through that wall, and there's your goal, and you paid the bill. Congratulations, you have just trained your brain that the only way to get things done is to act like an absolute monster, both to yourself and also to your loved ones, the people that you're around. Sorry, Nico. It's okay. All right, so you got your thing done, but you punched through the wall, and now you get to replace those bricks with even more things about how bad of a person you are, how angry you are, how no one's going to want to be around you because you're a monster. We don't want to do smash mode. Okay, so what actually works? Let's get to that. We can climb the wall by addressing the emotions that make up that wall, or we can add a door. Because the wall is made up of emotions, if we can prevent our body from sensing a threat and flooding our body with those chemicals, then maybe we can get to our goal without hitting the wall. All right, let's do the hard part first, climbing the wall. This is the work. This is the long-term fixes here. The first thing you need to do is be aware that you are reacting out of proportion to your environment, to your physical capabilities. You need to accept you are not bad because of this. Your body loves you and wants you to survive, and the environments that you have experienced have trained your body to react in certain ways. The good news is once you recognize these, you can start making action plans to start addressing them, to recalibrate those hair trigger alerts to be better, right? One thing I strongly recommend getting yourself a good group of friends who will support you and give you practical, reasonable advice. So if you come to them and you're like, man, I bombed that presentation. I am useless. I don't know why anybody keeps me around. They can be like, whoa. You've got like 3 major projects going on at work, and you took your cat to the vet in the middle of the night, so you're like sleep deprived. I'm surprised you even did it at all. You should be A-okay with what you did. Yeah, it wasn't the best, but you weren't working with a perfect environment. And guess what? Expecting perfection without a perfect environment if that doesn't make sense, Trip, what are you doing? Be easy on yourself. And if you've got good friends who can put you in your own reality like that, you'll start to internalize it and start to recognize it for yourself and start growing some self-compassion. And oh man, you got to try some self-compassion. It is great. Therapists are also really good at helping you discover mismatches between your personal expectations and reality. Mindfulness meditation, which is the practice of paying attention to your thoughts and dismissing them, when basically saying, thank you, brain, for giving me this weird reminder, I don't need it right now, goodbye. And so it starts to train your brain to not dwell on things and to catch thoughts as they are happening. Instead of recognizing that you are in the middle of a freak out, you can be like, oh, my brain is starting to tell me that I am going to be eaten by a bear, but really it's just one email. Maybe that tone, I'm injecting tone. These words could be completely benign. I am currently sitting in my desk. I have food in the fridge. I am safe in my house. I'm not going to die. It's okay. It's okay. I can just address the email. Right. Okay. So you transfer your emotional story into where you are physically and remind yourself that you are safe. Okay. I say okay a lot. The Biceps model, so those core needs like belonging and improvement, there are many different frameworks for grouping these. And one that I like is the Biceps model by Paloma Medina. She groups the core needs of a human into belonging, improvement and growth, autonomy and choice, fairness and equality, predictability, and status within your group. And when you are having a bad time, you got a project at work and you drag your feet, you are dreading every second of it. There is something about this project which is behind your wall of awful, and it is keeping you from meeting your milestones. Break out the Biceps model, make a little battery pack for each of these, and ask yourself, is my belonging threatened by this project? No, not really. Like, my teammates are all supportive, and like, that's cool. What about improvement? Oh, this project is not going to improve. Oh, wait, okay. I just had a really emotional reaction right there. There's probably something in that. What about choice? And so you go through this and you start to identify what are your core needs that are not being met by a specific project. And then knowing what's missing, you can start to address those things. There's also, are you focusing on the right things? And the skills and thrills matrix here is a great way to do this. So for a month or so, before you go to lunch and before you go home for the evening, write down all the tasks or close the laptop for the evening, write down all the tasks that you did in that period of time and put them in quadrants based on whether you think you're really good at them or you think you're not really good at them. And when you do them, you're excited, you're like, yeah, I want to do this stuff. I am internally motivated. Or if you do them and when you are done doing them, you are just a hollow shell of yourself and you need to lie on a couch for a few hours. No talking. Just, I need to not. Okay. So once you do that, you start noticing trends. Like, these specific types of tasks really drain me. And like, it could even be not just the type of task. It might be how it comes to you. There can be all sorts of peppermint smells in your environment that cause you to react. And once you've got these things figured out, if there is something in that lower left quadrant that you're not really good at, but you're really into it, man, you vibe. Find opportunities, seek opportunities to learn more there. Find someone to mentor you. Tell your boss, like, I really want to go there. If there is something that you are good at and you're motivated by, take every opportunity you can to do that. Because it's a benevolent cycle. You are getting positive feelings for yourself, and that is going into your work. And so you're getting a better product because you actually care. Shocker. Sometimes things last that way for a long time. Sometimes you may be in that quadrant for a while, but eventually it starts to drain on you. And maybe you might move over into that top right quadrant where, like, you're really good at it. You have done this so many times, you can do it in your sleep, but it is exhausting. You need silent couch time. What you need to do there is find somebody to train. There are other people who will want to do that, make it their job. And if there's something that you are both bad at and you are miserable because of, if you can avoid it, avoid it. Maybe you don't need to do it. These are often things behind our walls of awful. You can also look for ways to, like, mitigate the issue. Like, maybe it's exhausting because of one factor. Maybe you can change that and it won't be as bad. work with your friends, managers, etc., to like come up with action plans. And speaking of work, work should not be the only place where you are intentional. We should make deliberate plans for projects for ourselves. So reset and clear up your expectations. Maybe you are getting your MBA after work hours and you are not getting the straight A's that you expect of yourself because somebody lied and told you that perfection is demanded all the time. And so you're getting like B minuses and C's and you're like, oh no, I am turning into a terrible person. Step back, take another look. Why are you getting this MBA? Because you want to get that really cool job over there, right? But the MBA is a piece of paper, and you can get that piece of paper if you just pass. You don't have to get the A. There are other things you can do to get that job. So maybe instead of stressing out about studying to get A's, which you're not getting anyway, study just enough to pass and spend the rest of your time like networking with people in that occupation that you're looking at, and start looking for other ways to accomplish your goal. Redefine your done, if you will. And then tackling an epic on its own is very daunting. Breaking things up into subtasks, A+ idea. And throughout, and especially after, hold a blameless self-retrospective where you go, okay, how did that go? How did that impact me? What were the results? What are things that I want to avoid next time? What are ways I can avoid that next time? Which of those ways do I want to take active steps to do? Yeah. And now the part you have all been waiting for, the how to make a door. So this wall is made up of emotions, and if we can change our emotional state, then we can kind of just like phase shift through the door and get to our goal without triggering our fight, flight, or freeze response. Ways you can do this. Instead of going into Hulk smash, go into Eye of the Tiger mode. Like, make yourself your own little movie montage and like play motivating music. You may have heard people that are afraid of public speaking, they're encouraged to like do a power pose backstage before going on. Instead of saying that you are bad for not doing this, you're going to amp yourself up because you are awesome. Look how far you've come. Look how many obstacles you have gotten past to get to where you are. You can do this. You got this. I believe in you. I believe in dinosaurs, so dinosaurs must believe in me. So like, I'm going to go out there and do it. Okay. The bell for food, the peppermint grandmother, your amygdala is constantly scanning your environment. And if you are in the same environment regularly, when you encounter the wall of awful, sometimes changing your environment will trick your amygdala, and so it won't smell the peppermint, basically. And so maybe you just take all your pile of mail to the coffee shop and you open it there, and maybe you can get through it more easily. Give it a shot. Doing hard things is hard, but doing anything for a short amount of time is often easier. So the Pomodoro technique is one where you set a timer and you work for, say, 20 minutes. You can change this time however you want, and then you take a break. And I have this really neat little Pomodoro cube that allows me to choose a specific time, and then it'll ring when I'm done. And it's really nice to break your day up into chunks like that. And I love combining that with the dessert first method. So if you flood your brain with happy chemicals, some serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, all the good stuff, then do the hard thing and then go back to the dopamine, your brain can start being like, okay, this bad thing isn't as bad. So what I like to do is I'll watch like the first half of a cartoon, and then I'll do a Pomodoro of the hard thing, or I'll finish the thing before the Pomodoro is done, and then I'll get to finish the show. And if you got like a massive project, then I'll put on something much longer, and I'll watch the show in like 10-minute clips. And that is a great way to get through your nightmare tasks. So, summary, logic and avoidance aren't going to work. Smash mode can work, but at great cost. Do you want to be that monster? Being aware of how your body is reacting and accepting that you are okay, you can get better. but you are not a monster. Let's just make some plans and get better is the first step of climbing the wall. So reset your expectations and have compassion for yourself. When you're not doing good, give yourself a check-in. Use the biceps and the skills matrix. And when all else fails, make a door. Change your emotional state. Play some awesome music. Use that Pomodoro timer. Have your dessert first. If you want to learn more, you can check out Brendan Mahan's ADHD Essentials, which has all sorts of resources, blogs, podcasts, coaches, group settings where you can just study together. And Paloma Medina's Biceps Model, she's awesome. She's got a neuroscience-backed DE&I leadership training that's amazing. And thanks, Miko, for being my co-host here. You're welcome, Trip. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your deserted island DevOps. Bye.